Me? Can you hear me? Because I cannot hear you.
You can hear me now?
No, no, yes, yes. Yes, I can.
Because StreamYard is the devil. Facebook owns StreamYard. No, I'm just making that up. I'm not kidding you. I had to make a list of all the places that I've just subscribed to that didn't work. Hootsuite, Boxplan, Vimeo, StreamJar, Streamlabs. I mean, for somebody who cannot figure out how to undo subscriptions, I've just spent like the mortgage payment of a house in South Beach.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm sorry.
So now I'm gonna call the credit card company and say my credit card was hacked. That's what I'm gonna do.
Got hacked.
Yep, that'll save me a lot of time and effort. Hi, I've missed you.
I know, me too.
Well, so I put up a story today and said, I wonder how much Fox News Nation has made off people wanting to watch this Murdaugh documentary. Uh-oh, did she freeze? Oh my God, she froze. Did you freeze? I can't see you. I mean, this is a cluster. Hold on, let me send her a chat. Get internet better. Okay. I just told her to get her internet better.
Oh, well, okay. Wait a second. Hold on.
Oh, we can at least hear you.
I know. Hold on. I'm getting back to it. I'm having to hide in my bathroom because my dog has sundowners. She's 16. And hold on. I'm trying to find where you are.
Wait. What does the dog do if she sees you?
She literally at this time of night does nothing but bark nonstop. Oh, there you are.
Really? I've never heard of that. Can you give her like some Ambien or something? Now I'm a vet. So I was just telling Seton while she gets away from her dog. I was just telling Seton that have y'all spent your $1.99 on Fox News Nation? I wish that I didn't have to tell you that, but it is this. If you have not seen the documentary on Fox News Nation, it's 3 episodes. Alec Murdaugh is in big trouble because that naughty devil recorded him. He was reading parts of his journal, and then he let that naughty Jim Griffin record it and then use it for this documentary because I guess they feel like it will help him do whatever. Though Seton and I were saying, I was like, okay, this, and she agreed. I waited for her to say it first. This documentary is the best one that I have heard, not spending $1.99 to watch the son lie. So I don't think the son is lying. I think the son believes that his dad did not do it. You got a 7-day free trial. Well, I didn't get that. All the pictures of Randy were blurred out. Well, that's so interesting. I guess he just said he wasn't going to be in it. Where's Seton? Oh my gosh. I don't know where she is. I mean, I've given up. Seton, if you weren't going to come on, I could have just stayed over on the Facebook. That got his iPad taken away. Yes, for 30 days. But I kind of not enjoyed it, but it was nice to be away from it for a few months. You can't hear. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I think Buster knows his dad did it. He's just not ready to accept. Oh. Well, maybe somewhere in his brain knows, or maybe he doesn't know. I think sometimes your brain can shield you from things that you cannot process. And you could even say that God even shields you. Some people call it grace. Now you're the size of a postage stamp. So when I mean, this is totally irrelevant, but relevant to something that is, I wouldn't believe if I hadn't experienced myself. My, I hear. When my brother died of cancer, and if you read my journal, I clearly knew he was not going to live. Cancer is spread. We're not looking for tumors anymore. Blah, 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 blah. No no nothing. And he died. And I remember thinking, like, I had no idea he was going to die. But if you read my journal, I did know. I mean, you couldn't, I was 15. It wasn't like I was, a baby. So it just doesn't make sense, right? Like, how can you, I just can't, I don't have any other explanation other than the fact that I think I was shielded from that. Of course, now I can't find that journal. Doggone it. This is like the story of my life. Well, I mean, these are all my dad's notes. I can find those. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. It's just that. Seton, I don't care if the dog's barking. You don't want to admit it. The brain is an amazing protector. Yeah, yes. So who knows what he thinks? I mean, we know he's in jail. He's lost his mother and his brother. And in this documentary, in the first episode, they really talk a lot about the relationship with he and his mom. And you kind of got that the dad and Paul were sort of tight and did stuff together. I think Paul was more sporty, naturally sporty than Buster is. And it's being told that Buster killed the guy found in the middle of the road. Well, I mean, Buster talks about that in this documentary. And, good for him for getting on in here and talking. Creepy family. I think what is interesting to people is that this is somebody where I live in the South that so-and-so went to Meredith College with her sister, and so met him at the USC game, and so saw him at Furman, and so was at Edisto and had Bloody Marys before the 4th of July parade with la la la. Like, it's very Southern familiar. Oh, good. Here she is.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. This is so bad. I mean,
like sitting around like doing drugs or something with all this trouble we're having. I mean, this is not good.
Well, I am drinking a high noon because it's Friday and it's my anniversary and birthday weekend. So yes, I am. But no, I'm not drunk or anything.
Did you have your anniversary day wrong?
Yeah, no. So this is so sad. We we forgot. I thought my anniversary was on Thursday. It was actually on Wednesday. We both actually forgot. And we didn't realize it until my mom called me to say happy anniversary. And then I called my husband. It was early. It wasn't like 5 o'clock or anything like that, but it was bad because we both didn't realize it. And like, oh, that's bad. But I had this whole docuseries thing on my mind. And it's always kind of a crazy. We had 2 kids. We moved into college in the last 2 weeks. It was just we're busy.
Well, and then sometimes, like in my mind, I kept thinking Monday was September 6th.
I know.
And then I was like, well, I mean, you're going to call me on Monday? It's Labor Day. They were like, the 6th is Thursday. I was like, oh, okay.
I know. And like my husband's birthday is today and mine's tomorrow. So,
oh gosh, happy birthday.
Thank you. We always all of our holidays fall in like one spot. And we have a dog with dementia. And so she's barking all the time. We're not well. It's a lot.
Okay, so tell us, you were in this documentary. I mean, I missed the memo that you were going to be in a documentary.
Well, yes, and I'm wearing this shirt because I have this shirt with a really professional like jacket, and this is my look that I was going to wear. Yep. And I got to the place that we were filming, and they were like, "Oh, Martha, who was the big wig interviewer, is wearing that same color. You can't wear it." So then I had to wear a different shirt, which was like a backup shirt. And again,
you had one.
They told me to bring one, but it was like I wasn't anticipating having to change shirts, and it was a backup shirt. I mean, I looked a little chubby, and I'll own it. I mean, that was not good.
No, I thought great.
No, I looked a little chubby. And then I get there, and it was only supposed to be a 2-hour interview. They have me they had rented an Airbnb, and I'm sitting on a metal stool without a back for at least 4 to 5 hours.
Oh, I would have to lay down.
Oh, and the worst part about it is I think it was the first week in July, and it was an old place in downtown Charleston, so the air conditioning was really loud. So they had to turn off the air conditioning. So I'm sitting on a metal stool in July in downtown Charleston with no air. They kept telling me, like, you're shiny. They kept having to block me.
100,000 in here.
It was awful.
Thank goodness it was you. If you think you look chubby, I would have looked like I was in my thousands.
No, like, it was not my most flattering moment. It was bad.
They say the camera adds 10 pounds.
I'm hoping that's the case.
Well, I will tell you, I think I thought you looked great, but when
Thank you.
Those people on the Today Show, like Hoda and Savannah Guthrie and blah, 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 those people are skinny. And I don't think they look not skinny, but when you meet a person, they're 9 feet tall and weigh 80 pounds.
I saw those people at the Murdaugh trial, and they're, like, beautiful. You have, like, there's these different groups of people. You have the people who are the newscasters. They're like 25. They're really young. I think, they look great. They wear lashes and full makeup at all times. They look amazing. And then you also have these people. I mean, it's intimidating. I'm not gonna lie. You're like, I'm 50 and a little chubby.
Yeah. Preach. And now somebody's like, and there's another one coming out. Netflix has series 2 in September. Are you in this one too?
No, but I think this was going to be good because there was news that came out with that one. I think Cousin Eddie is speaking out on this one, on the Netflix one, as well as the housekeeper, Blanca. And she, to me, when I watched the trial, she seemed to be the person who really knew Maggie best. Like, I really, I thought, again, that's a score for them. I thought that, like, it's going to be good. But of all the documentaries that I have watched, I did feel like this was the most balanced because, and I like the legal stuff, and I know not everybody does, but we heard from the prosecution, we heard from Creighton Waters, we heard from Alan Wilson, and then we heard from the defense, we heard from Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffin. So I did feel like that it was balanced in that respect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What did you think about Buster in it?
I mean, I've talked to a couple of people about this, and to me, I personally, as a mom, and I felt sympathy for him. I mean, he comes out and he says, he does think that his dad is not guilty of it, and a lot of other people think there was not evidence to do it. So I think he has every right to that opinion. A lot of people are crucifying him about that. I guess, he did have some criticism for the jury. But I mean, again, if you think your dad is innocent and you think that the jury got it wrong, then that's kind of fair. But he did say that he thought that Martha asked him some comments about his opinion about whether his dad could possibly be a psychopath, and he said, well, he thought that was a fair assessment. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he did admit that his dad has some stuff that is not good, but I don't know. Like, I felt sympathy for him.
I don't think we, in his situation, no, Alec, I feel probably a little bit differently, and maybe I'm contradicting myself, but in the there's 3 episodes. In the second episode, they're kind of talking about when the camera, and I guess because I've been away from this for a few months, like, it just was almost like having a fresh start watching everything again. and Alec is standing there away from the bodies, and the forensic person says, if it were me, he had no blood on him, and that felt odd, that he had not touched them. And so I went and did some research, do people typically, because we could say, well, we don't know what somebody would do. Well, they typically do cradle their loved ones, so it's interesting to know what usually does happen.
I think that's a good point. No blood could also be not a good thing. Does that indicate some sort of cleanup situation? Yeah, that could, because if you cradled your loved ones or you rendered aid in some way, you would have blood on your shirt.
He picked him up and tried to flip him over after he saw his brains on the ceiling. And then he said, are they officially dead? Do you remember that? So hearing all that,
I think that I have grace for I think that was, he was in shock. Are they really dead? That, maybe not. But to me, when I saw that, I thought maybe he could have been thinking, processing.
See, I don't know. I guess I've lost loved ones in an accident, and using the word officially dead is weird to me. I don't know. It seemed that I don't know. Yeah. I could see that Buster can't process the fact that his dad did this. I mean,
and he has the right to feel the way he feels.
Yeah.
I've been on Twitter and all these places, people saying well, he this and this. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, if you've been through all that, you actually have the right to feel exactly how you want to feel about it.
And he might not want, what I was thinking, watching him in the courtroom and then on this interview, he's going to show it. That's his defense mechanism. He is not going to let the whole world, he's not going to be like Adrian booing over dropping off the third grader with autism at school. And I will say it's really hard to be like that. Does he want to show those emotions to the world?
No, he said it. He said he didn't want to cry. He said he was not he didn't want to do those things.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a terrible idea from a personal standpoint, but I get that he's doing that. And he has no mother, no brother. They were just a regular old family,
I mean, he's not going to be able to hit, I'm saying this as someone who lost their mother at the age of 2. And I remember, it's these milestone moments that you are like, wait a second, I'm not going to have my parent. The biggest one for me was when I had a child. And I remember being so incredibly jealous of all my friends whose mothers came and stayed with them for a month and made them meals and took care of them. And I was like, that's never going to happen for me. And I think that, I don't know. I mean, again, I have sympathy. I'm not saying I don't know. Oh, the other thing, he's been accused of these terrible things with Stephen Smith. And I don't know Buster personally. I can't really fend for him in that way.
Right.
But, if you think about it, he's been through a lot. Not only is he's lost his mother, who he says in this documentary that seemed like he was closer to his mom and Paul was closer to the dad.
Yeah.
His dad's in jail, accused of, or convicted of killing them both. I mean, I feel sympathy for him, and a lot of people don't for some reason or another. They think that maybe he killed Stephen Smith, but until he is actually, there's charges brought forth, then I'm going to give him some grace.
Yeah. I totally agree. No, he was not. We know he was not involved in the murder of his mother and brother. And anyway, you see it happen a lot. I mean, you see these, remember the Lori Vallow and her
Yes.
new husband, right? They killed these children's mother. Their dad killed their mother. And I mean, if you go back and watch, they know now and have now come to terms with it. But when you watch them early on in these datelines, they're like, he did not do this. I
No.
mean, all these stories, the children are always with the dad in the courtroom. There's a reason that you see that over and over and over again.
And it's his story, and it is his it is his right to express himself in whatever way he sees fit. He's not a member of the media.
Right.
He didn't choose the situation. So
right.
That's just the way I view it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably a good. So I haven't finished episode 3. What was episode 3? The gist of that?
That's where they talk about. I don't know. I watched them all. It was kind of in a blur. I was a little like, it's again, it's traumatic to see yourself on TV at 50. But but that was where they talk about the Stephen Smith, and he denies any involvement in the death of Stephen Smith.
Right.
Now, I did talk to somebody who said, they thought Buster came across as arrogant and privileged and all those things. And I don't know. I mean, I kind of see a little bit of that. Maybe that's true. But what does that matter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's he's just, I was thinking about, we both have children, and I have 3 sons, and my older 2 sons who are teenagers are very different. And I was thinking before you and I started talking, like, what would it be like if it were one of them versus the other one? And like, if the 2 of them were in an interview like that, how different they would be, right? With the same circumstances, but the way they would be talking about it would be so different and could be very awkward. And you're still pretty young, in your 20s, trying to figure out, what am I going to say that's going to help? I think you start overthinking things. Anyway.
And you don't choose it. Like, when you're a victim, and I mean, I think a lot of people don't view Buster as a victim. Personally, I do. I mean, there's a lot of victims in this case. We have Maggie and Paul, and lots of Gloria Satterfield. There's so many, Stephen Smith. There's so many victims that we're talking about, but we also have to consider the fact that I think Buster's a victim as well.
Mm-hmm. What really, when I left the thing thinking, Alec Murdaugh is scum. I mean, that's how I felt when he was walking in that with that Mallory Beach stuff. Like, that to me was like so gross, him walking around with that badge hanging out of his pocket, telling nobody to talk. And I just thought, I'm married to a criminal defense attorney who's really good. I have teenage sons. And if my son were driving a boat and shit-faced and caused an accident, the last thing I would be thinking of is try to how not to get him into trouble.
Oh, I agree. Like, I mean, I felt the same way. That's exactly how I became interested in the story as well. And I thought it was really absurd that they just basically, went into cover up mode from the get go.
Right.
And that instead of, if it was my son and this had happened, I would say, guess what? You're going to have to live at home. Maybe you could, because he got permission to go back to school in Columbia outside of his district. And I would have been like, no. You're going to stay at home till we get this all sorted out.
Well, you're also going to need to start having money for your defense, because you're about to go to prison for a long time.
Right. I mean, like, I would have said, not that I wouldn't have. I mean, people make mistakes and do really bad things and stupid things. And I think, again, I'm not justifying any of that. But if it's your loved one who makes a really bad decision and a really bad mistake, you're going to try to figure out a way to help them, probably in some way, but in a way that actually helps everybody, and not sweeping under the rug doesn't.
Well, there's a group that talks about drunk driving, and I was on a video or something, and I called it like a drunk driving accident, and I was corrected, and the person said, it's never an accident when you're drunk and driving. You were drunk and you chose to drive. That's not an accident. That's a choice. And it really got me, like the way.
No, I mean, I sat in last week
So interesting.
On a case, a boating under the influence case in South Carolina, where a 19-year-old, much like Mallory Beach, was killed on the Congaree River in Columbia, South Carolina. And I talked to the Mothers Against Drunk Driving advocate, and she told me she's been doing this for almost 30 years. She's never seen a successful prosecution of a boating under the influence case. And it was heartbreaking. And she actually became involved because her best friend was Strong Thurman's daughter, who was killed in a drunk driving accident.
Oh, I forgot that.
Yeah, it is really, really interesting.
Right. Yeah.
And so sad, and there's boating. The boating accidents are, again, I think, the hardest ones to prosecute, because it involves, in South Carolina, I don't know how it works in North Carolina, but in South Carolina, it involves multiple agencies.
I think it's that history of parenting there. Like, Paul had gotten drunk and wrecked the truck sometime, and there was a story where the parents went out there and got all the beer cans out of it.
Yeah.
So you're seeing, like, you're kind of creating someone who thinks there will be no consequences for me, No,
and then he is ordered to stay in the 14th Judicial Circuit in South Carolina, and he gets special permission to leave that to go back to school. I'm not saying that's the worst thing in the world, because you would want somebody, an innocent till proven guilty, you would want somebody to continue their education. But as a parent, I personally would probably be like, stay home and maybe go to our local community college.
Yeah, because you're certainly not having anything to drive after now, because you clearly can't be trusted. But somebody just said, do you think it was strange that his mom didn't go to the hospital that night?
That actually always kind of
never
struck me as odd. That I don't know why. Like, I don't know why she didn't go, because Buster wasn't living at home at the time, and I don't know. That's a really good question that I don't know the answer to, but also was something that stuck out in my mind.
It would, if I had to guess, and obviously I know nothing, I would have to say my gut would be that he was like, you stay here, I'm going. Like, he was trying to control, let me get my badge, let me hang it out of my pocket, he doesn't want the wife coming in there acting frantic. We're trying to keep everything on the down low.
Well, the grandfather went with.
Well, he called his grandfather before he called his dad, Paul.
Yeah, so he was there too.
Like, who calls their grandfather when they wreck a boat?
Well, maybe you felt like your grandfather was going to be easier. I don't know. This is all just speculation, but I don't know. Maybe he thought his grandfather wasn't going to be as mad. I just don't know.
No. He called the grandfather because the grandfather had more power than the dad.
Oh, yeah.
That's why he called the grandfather.
Or maybe he thought the grandfather was going to be somebody who was going to be better able to handle the situation.
I think he wanted the situation to go away. And if my grandfather shows up, people will be in awe of him and nothing's going to happen to me. I mean, they didn't give him a breathalyzer at the scene.
No. Well, and this other case that I'm talking about, no breathalyzers were all, I think you involve DNR and I multiple agencies, and that doesn't always happen. That's what I'm trying to say is I don't think this Mallory Beach case is isolated. I think there's other cases just as egregious.
Right. Oh, no, you're right. I mean, I know you are. And we said we were going to kind of get into this because you've got a new podcast coming out, right? Like you'll change
No,
the name.
well, so we switched. So we still cover Murdaugh's stuff,
Right,
obviously.
right.
But we are also, my phone's about to die. We also have one we've talked about the Shanquilla Robinson story, which I want to come on and talk about this.
Yes.
And then we also are covering other cases, including this boating accident that I'm referring to, where a 19-year-old was killed, and some other things. We have another one also. I don't know. I don't sleep anymore. We have another one where we're talking about like a history-based one where we have Michael DeWitt, who is the editor of the Hampton County Guardian.
Oh.
Where we do like, it's called The Wicked South, where we do like historical based stuff, which has a lot of like Murdaugh history stuff, but really interesting local stories from the Low Country. So, I mean, we have a lot going on.
So we're going to be seeing more of Seton now that school has started. She's got 2 at school. I have almost 2 at school, 2 at home. So
2 at school, 1 at home.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you have 1 at home still.
Yeah, she's at home.
Ultimate dysfunctional entitled family. I think it's like the only thing we can do from these situations is to take a step back and think about ourselves. I mean, or that's what I do. I don't know about anybody else, but like my son today was sending me his college essays and he was like, complaining, and then he was sending them. And I sat there and thought, I bet so many parents write these darn essays. I bet they write the essay, send it to the kid, send it to the college, do the schoolwork, do whatever they can because they just want to make everything perfect, And I get it. Like, I want life to be great for my kids too. But I think I just am able to see, like, holy cow, if you do all that mess, you're just setting them up for such a big failure.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's a hard balance because you want to you want to set your kids up for success, but sometimes I think people do too much for kids because they think that that's the right thing to do, but ultimately it's not the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Kelly just said, Seton, I wish you would look into the Dale Dinwiddie story.
Oh my gosh, wait a second. Okay, wait a second. This is my passion. I have been wanting to tell this story forever and ever and ever. So I really okay, so this is this balance that I'm trying to do with life, work, just all the stuff. And now running 2 different podcasts. And also we want to keep our listeners, we have to keep this going weekly. But I have been interested in this story forever and ever. She went missing after the U2 concert in 1992, and she was, I think, 23 years old. I really wanted to go to this concert, but I was a college student. I did not have enough money to go to this concert, so I didn't go. And she went. She went out to 5 Points, which is like the college bar area in Columbia, South Carolina, and she went missing. Like, she was at a Jungle Gyms, which is also, when I moved to Columbia the year after she went missing, and it was a place that I went frequently. Not proud of that, but I went there a lot, and she just, no one knows what happened to her. And when I moved there, they had like there were bumper stickers and light poles. You had pictures, find Dale, find Dale. So actually that is one that I really am passionate about telling that story. And I'm going to do it. I just have to find the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to do it. Like, I don't want to rush it, because I feel like we're so rushed right now.
Right.
I just want to do it in the right way. So yes, like that. Thank you for bringing that up because I'm really want to tell this story.
Well, and I think it's just what you're doing takes a tremendous amount of time. I mean, I can hardly watch the 3 episodes and you're like doing deep dives into research.
It's so much, like, I mean, and like, this one episode we did on this boating accident, which you have to have me on next week to talk about this boating accident.
Come on next week. She wants to talk about this boating accident. And then when I read it, I was like mad as hell. Like I was.
No, and I worked so, I mean, I can't, what these people lost people, so I don't want to make it about me, but I'm saying like this 30-minute episode that we did took a tremendous amount of time. So like, I don't even, it's hard to wrap my head around how to make
it coming out.
What's that?
When's the episode coming out?
Oh no, it just, we dropped it this week.
Dropped it this week. Okay, so I'll make sure I share it so people can watch it.
Share it and let's talk about it next week because I want to keep this story alive.
Are we going to talk about Brian Koberger, they just said?
I mean, I'm letting other people who know more about that to talk about. I follow this. I'm really interested in it. But no, I mean, like, I'm trying to keep our podcast personally, local stuff we know, hometown stuff. I do have a fascination with the legal aspect of these things. So in that respect, I am really following the Koberger case because I think it's super interesting how Idaho really locks everything down. Like you get no discovery. No one knows anything ahead of time.
Oh,
yeah. So I find that really interesting. But again, this is just as y'all are probably following it the same way. But I'm really interested in it.
Kelly said, talk about John Marvin. We're going to have to go because Seton's got stuff she has to do. It took me 9 hours to get this thing going. What's
my husband, it's his birthday today. It's my husband's birthday today. It's mine tomorrow. And like, he just came up and changed his clothes. I don't know. He gave me the stink eye. So like, why aren't you, like, it's my birthday. I literally gave no gifts, nothing.
That's too much.
I know, it was too bad. I know. Like, well, I now have literally the best husband ever.
Go out to dinner and then let's plan. I think we were talking about maybe, I don't know what night. We'll get it together and announce it.
Yes, because I'm going. Yes, and yes, because I'm leaving on a big trip that we've had planned for a while on Friday. So I want to, like, but I do really want to tell this.
Yeah, we'll do it then.
Oh, wait. You had one more question. You said somebody was asking about
John Marvin.
Oh, John Marvin. I don't know. Like, actually, I ran into John Marvin as I went to Russell Lafitte's sentencing hearing in Charleston a few weeks ago. And I didn't realize how long it was going to take. And my son had he was getting his wisdom teeth out. He had an appointment to consultation. So I had to leave and I couldn't stay for the whole thing. It took a long time. It was much longer than I expected. But John Marvin was entering as I was leaving and I spoke to him and I was like, how are you doing? And he said, as well as can be expected. He was there for that sentencing hearing just to support. And again, people will say bad things about my statement here, but I think just because one person is a terrible person in your family doesn't mean everybody is.
Oh shit. Well, I think we all better believe that or we're all in trouble.
No, we can't be responsible for the dumb things the rest of our family does.
That's what my family says about me. Don't blame us all for her.
Yeah. Yeah, don't blame us all. Nobody should have to take responsibility for actions.
No, we're all our own people. Well, thank you. And I'll look forward to next week.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Bye.